I did the best space buns I've ever done in my life the other day while drunk, and I'm never gonna be able to recreate them. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing a ARC reading vlog. Before we get into anything bookish, however, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments, have you heard about these books? Are you excited for them? Are they now on your TBRs? Let's talk about it. So yes, another vlog of reading Netgalley arcs that I have received. This time around, I have two romances, and I am very excited for both of them. First up is Bet on It by Jodie Slaughter, and this one looks adorable. I mean, can we please just talk about how cute this cover is? This story is following our main character, 𝗖cie, and I know she is supposed to struggle with her mental health. I think she might have an anxiety disorder, but she constantly goes to a bingo night as a way to treat herself. And one day she ends up meeting the young, hot grandson of her favorite bingo partner, Walker. Of course, the two of them end up hitting it off. I know there's like some kind of a bingo sex pact involved. I've heard this is fairly spicy from the different reviews I've seen, and I am so excited for it. And then I'm going to be reading The Fixer-Upper by forsythe, another rom-com with a cute cover, so of course I had to check it out. However, the summary was really what caught my attention. This story is following our main character, 𝗖lie, who has a habit of fixing up her boyfriends before they break up with her and then go on to marry somebody. She and her friends end up working this out into a bit of a business, and she actually starts to, quote, fix up different people's significant others. I don't really know what that entails, but okay, I'm intrigued. It seems like they struck gold when they actually get hired by a big name influencer. However, when they end up meeting the influencer's boyfriend, turns out he is 𝗖lie's childhood best friend and crush, who she hasn't spoken to in 15 years. I'm seriously hoping this will have a second chance romance sort of layout, but the setup itself sounds like it's going to be hilarious with the entire fixer-upper angle. Very intrigued to see what that actually means. That is it for now, but I will talk to you guys again whenever I have started into one of these books.
Hey guys, so I have hit the 21% into, what is this book called? Bet on It. Yes, a Bet on It, and I am very much enjoying it. It's really adorable. The friendly relationship that has already blossomed between our two main characters, super into it. Both of our main characters definitely deal with some mental health issues. So we have our female main character, I want to say it's pronounced 𝗖cie, suffers from generalized anxiety disorder. When we meet her in the beginning, she's actually having a panic attack. The author was kind enough to include content warnings at the beginning of this book, which is always fantastic. 𝗖cie is kind of in a rut in her life. She recently moved to this small town and she wants to try and make friends, but she doesn't really know how to go about doing that. She works from home. She doesn't really have much of a social life at all. Her closest friend is her sister-in-law, who lives in DC. She does go to play bingo at a bingo hall every Wednesday. Her favorite player is Miss May, and recently Miss May unfortunately took quite a tumble and broke both her arms. So now Miss May's grandson, Walker, which is our other main character, is in town to help take care of her. Walker also gets a perspective starting in the 3rd chapter, and this man's thought processes literally start with him wanting cobbler and then just talking about that cobbler for the rest of the chapter, and I just want to put that out there because I loved it. It was so funny, it was so sweet, it was so wholesome. As I said, Walker also has his own mental health issues. If I remember correctly, I believe he has PTSD and has also suffered from panic attacks in the past. He pretty much ran away from town as soon as he was old enough. He has not visited for many years, which his grandma holds over him in a very hilarious way, and obviously now that he is back, he is dealing with some drama because of it and gossiping people. I really am enjoying the atmosphere of the story in terms of the small town. So all in all, I am really enjoying this. One negative I do have personally, the author gives lots of exposition around the characters when they're doing certain things or they are thinking about certain things, and it'll spur on other thought processes which give background to the characters. On one hand, I enjoy it, but other times it feels like the author gives a bit too much. It feels like she's kind of just trying to fill extra page space. Not a huge fan of that, but I will say, given that this is a romance book, there's not a ton of plot going on. It's clearly friends to lovers as the trope that we're going into. And with that, I guess the biggest real plot that's taking place is the friendship that is developing between the two main characters, 𝗖cie and Walker. So all in all, honestly, off to a pretty strong start in the first 20%, and I'm excited to continue reading it. The one downside I have is I am alternating back and forth between 2 different romance novels. So I have already had a little bit of trouble keeping them distinct in my brain.
Hey guys, so I am currently at 55% into Bet On It, and y'all, Jodie Slaughter really knew what I was wanting when it came to spice. This woman gives you a full-blown smutty scene 40% in. I am talking the good shit, some nice dirty talk, little public indecency, but at the same time, fantastic. Oh my lord. This is definitely pretty sexual in terms of traditional romance. I think both of these characters are very horny, and it comes up quite often in dialogue. Sometimes a little inopportune, like I don't think it should get brought up at certain points, and it does. One-liners that get dropped that showcase like, yeah, this might be romantic or cute in this moment, but like the character is thinking this thing, and it kind of seems out of place in those few moments. However, for the most part, I'm freaking loving it. The two of them have kind of developed this friends with benefits idea because they want to acknowledge that they have a ton of chemistry. They definitely have this tension between the two of them, but neither of them thinks a relationship can really evolve here because of the circumstances around their lives. Some fantastic things I definitely want to bring some attention to. 𝗖cie gets her period at one point. She comments about having it to Walker, and he doesn't even get fazed by it. He just is like, what can I do for you? How can I make your day better? Love that. Love normalizing it, especially in a relationship. That's great. I know they're not technically in a relationship, but you understand what I'm saying. Also, 𝗖cie is plus size, and I love that there is a literal line in the book that straight out says, 𝗖cie's fat. She's aware of it. However, she's still beautiful. That doesn't have anything to do with it. She's confident in her body. At no point have any of her confidence issues been revolving around her size or her weight. As I said, the spice is fantastic. I really appreciate the intimacy between the two of these characters. They both are obviously dealing with their own mental health issues, and they can kind of relate to one another even though they haven't talked about it too in depth. Each of them is definitely dealing with their own side plots revolving around their mental health, which is kind of separated, and I do wish they were a little more cohesive between the two. Obviously, whenever the two of them are together, it is purely focusing on the relationship. While the mental health discussions are very well done, I do think occasionally the dialogue comes across just a little too unrealistic. I can't really see anybody saying or talking in this specific wording, or just how certain things are phrased seem a little weird. Yeah, this is definitely not plot driven at all. It is super character focused, revolving around all the things I've already talked about. With all the mental health stuff that I've mentioned already, this definitely is a little heavier than the cover would have you believe, but I'm still really enjoying it overall. Hey y'all, so I have officially finished out Bet On It by Jodie Slaughter, and y'all, this book was so freaking good, so adorable, so spicy. Highly recommend this. Fantastic. Fan-freaking-tastic. Definitely think if you enjoyed the Brown Sisters trilogy, you should check this out. If you've enjoyed the Modern Love series, you should check this out. This managed to balance handling serious discussions of mental health with a fun and cute romance. I was so impressed with Jodie Slaughter. I've never read any of her work before, but I'm definitely gonna check her out now. The final spice scene, so good, so good. Oh my god. I saw another reviewer who was saying that this was too much for her, but for me, perfect. 4 chili peppers. Given the fact this is a romance book, of course it had a third act drama. On one hand, it did frustrate me because I felt like it could have been easily resolved if they would have just talked to one another, and also, y'all have heard me rant about it before. Anytime long distance relationships are dismissed as totally impossible, it aggravates me because I was in one for so long. Anyway, the conflict still made perfect sense for the characters that have been established to us previously. Obviously, given the trauma our hero had lived through, it made sense for the events that happened that he handled them in this way, which caused this breakup. But I loved how it was resolved. I thought the discussion around the breakup when it came to Asia's perspective was so well done. It fits the image that rom-coms give you whenever there's a breakup, you know, crying into a tub of ice cream. But at the same time, I think it was discussed in a healthy way, talking about how you're literally grieving the loss of someone who's very impactful in your life. I just thought that was very healthy, very well done, continued the fantastic representation of mental health. I do think it's a little odd that Asia's friends get so much page time and she just recently met them, whereas on the opposite side with Walker, he has known these people for years, but he only really talks to them maybe twice, and then we only really see them on screen once. The grand gesture moment, so freaking adorable, made my heart soar. The epilogue was perfect for everything that we had seen so far. I just loved the growth that the both of these characters went throughout this entire book. I'm not gonna hold it against them that there were a few grammatical errors and things since this was a unedited arc, but I do think the writing style could occasionally get a little too show not tell, and like I said, I think in like my first update, this had a lot of exposition at times, which is saying something coming from someone who usually loves exposition, but I just felt like occasionally she could harp on a topic a few sentences too much. Those are really my only complaints. This was so freaking cute, so spicy, so fun, so adorable. 4 stars, highly recommend. I actually might buy a physical copy of this whenever it comes out. Please go check it out. Please go add it to your TBR. Hi guys, so I have hit the 65% mark into the Fixer Upper. I planned to update y'all a lot sooner. However, last night I got ready for bed. I think by that point I was maybe 20% in, and I told myself, okay, I'm just gonna read like 1 chapter. I'm pretty tired. I'll probably fall asleep before then. 4 hours later, I was still reading. Putting that into perspective, yes, I'm having a great time with this book. So right whenever we start into this book, I really appreciate the fact that our main character, 𝗖cie, is all about like self-positivity, trying to take time for yourself, spend time with yourself. But then of course she ends up running into one of her exes who now is all fixed up, and she basically just remembers that she is now in the same place within her life that she has been for years, and that is really a recurring theme that's going on. There's some additional drama that happens around her job, and while I do find it somewhat entertaining, at the same time, I think there are a few too many side plots going on with this. There's also this whole thing with one of her colleagues, Hunter, who is definitely a total stereotypical douchebag, but the author literally uses the exact same paragraph to describe the character in 2 separate places. The first is maybe 10% into the book, and the second is around 50%. Perhaps she thought that was enough time that the reader would not notice, but I noticed. With the premise of this book, I was a little hesitant that it was gonna lean way too much into the let's hate on every single man. Let's generalize about men. Let's generalize about men. But thankfully, I do think the author has kind of turned it around and showcased that the way 𝗖cie is going about fixing up these men is basically just trying to encourage them, to showcase how important communication is within couples. Even though I did have the issue of this entire business just feels like miscommunication with extra steps, I do have to say I really like the business aspect of this. I really appreciate the way the focus of it is all on the marketing and showcasing yourself in the best light, how to brand yourself. The reason I stayed up so late reading this book is because as soon as the hero comes in, I was desperate for their interactions. The banter is so fun. I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the summary that these 2 characters were best friends when they were children. However, there was some event that happened when they were 18 and that caused 𝗖cie to ghost Dylan, and clearly 𝗖cie is still hurt by the events, whereas Dylan is clearly hurt that she went no contact. I'm sure there's gonna be a miscommunication around that whole situation. The banter is so freaking fun. Right when they meet again, Dylan basically pretends he does not know who she is, and for literally like the first 20% after he's introduced, they like do not talk to one another like friends. He is consistently grouchy, grumbly. Everybody does not understand why he is so mean to her, but there are little moments where you can see he still clearly has positive feelings for her, like he's remembering their friendship as well. There's just little lines they'll drop that call back to things from when they were kids, and it's It's so cute. It's like that great mix of second chance romance and enemies to lovers. It's fantastic. I'm really enjoying that. I will say though, with the second chance trope, I think something in this that's incredibly strong is that the author actually makes me feel like there is a history between these two characters. She shows us little moments, but she actually gives that emotion within the writing, in the dialogue, in the interactions between the two of them. By this point where I'm at, they are finally starting to kind of rekindle their friendship, but they still have not acknowledged the giant issue. Like I said previously though, I do think there's a few too many side plots going on. There's like the whole drama around Allie's actual job. There's the Dylan situation in terms of romance, and then on top of that with him, there is the whole fixer-upper scenario business that's becoming a thing. And then she also has this issue that came about because of her mom and dad's history. Then there's continuously these mentions of her grandparents and how they were just like the perfect example of love, and she doesn't think she'll ever have that. Since this book is barely over 300 pages, it kind of just feels like there's too much going on, like jumping around between all of these different plot lines. So all in all, even though I do have like a lot of little gripes, I am actually really enjoying this book. This might be one of those, my car pile breakdown might come out to a lower score, but I think my enjoyment will definitely bump my rating. I'm not sure yet. I did read from a different reviewer that this does not have any spice. Upset about that, particularly since we've had such fantastic interactions between Allie and Dylan. I would love for some spice to back that up. Hey guys, so guess what? I was right. I ended up finishing the Fixer-Upper literally a day after I filmed that first update. So in the end, I did really enjoy this. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it was very cute. I definitely enjoyed the interactions between our hero and heroine. However, I do think this book required a lot of suspension of disbelief. Given the fact it's a rom-com, I kind of like go in just expecting that anyway. Whenever the two of them finally had their interaction where they were actually acknowledging one another, acknowledging their history, and finally trying to figure out what happened in the past that led to this rift, I was kind of let down. It was a little anticlimactic. I wanted more fireworks from it. Basically, the entire thing just ended up boiling down to miscommunication that happened then. So it was doubly frustrating that in the third act conflict, miscommunication was another heavily relied upon trope. But at the same time, with this sort of a setup, you can kind of see this third act conflict coming from a mile away. I was a little upset about that. I was hoping that the author would change it slightly just to take you a bit off guard so it didn't so easily fall into the trap that had been laid out from literally like page 1. I will say I did really enjoy the grand gesture moment. I think I've come to realize that grand gesture moments are just kind of my thing. I mean, she literally mentions the grand gesture moment from Patrick and 10 Things I Hate About You. So I was hoping that this would have one very similar to it. Not quite out there. She still did something big. And whenever that finally happened, we got to see the two kiss. This does not have any steam. It's completely clean. It's very slow burn in terms of the romance aspect. A large majority of the book is more just focusing on them slowly trying to rekindle their friendship before even really diving into the romance area. I'm pretty sure I mentioned in my previous update that this had a lot of extra stuff going on, apart from just the main romantic plot. I think a large part of that is because the author was really trying to round out Allie as a main character. She really gave her so much background, so much history. We could truly understand every single aspect of her life, why she does what she does. And on one hand, that's fantastic. I think that's amazing that you can round out a character that well. However, I think it kind of took away from some of the other side characters, even the hero. Dylan, by the end of this book, still wasn't the most three-dimensional love interest. I mean, I don't think he was flat as a board, but he definitely could have done with a little more build up. So could many of the other side characters. By the end, I just didn't really care about any of the side characters because they felt like they were mostly there to just prop up Allie. Like I said, in terms of the relationship between Dylan and Allie, I did really enjoy this book. This definitely wasn't a new favorite romance book or anything, but I still had a fantastic time. I think my highest rating was for my entertainment on Copile, but writing, plot, logic, all of those were definitely on the lower side. So this is definitely a good rom-com that I would highly recommend checking out. Don't think it's going to be a new favorite for me. In the end, I'm fairly certain my Copile rating came down to about a 3.6. So we're just going to stick at a 3.5 star. Like I said, fun rom-com, highly recommend it. Would not pass this one up. It's so adorable. I could definitely see this getting film rights, honestly. honestly, I think it would make for a very entertaining movie. Alright y'all, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials linked in the description if you're interested in keeping up with what I am reading. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!